Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Charge Automation live session. It must be morning for my colleagues in the US, I guess. Over here in Europe, where I am, it's almost 9 p.m. now, so almost bedtime. But we're going to crack on with this one. It's going to be a fun one. So I'm joined today with my colleague Austin. From Charge Automation, but more importantly as well, we have some special guests here with us today. We have Garrett Box and also Matt Desatel from Escapia. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us over here.
Well, it's great to have you guys with us. We're really excited that you're joining us for this session. Actually, it's going to be a fun one. So I guess let's jump into things. I guess we'll jump into firstly, let's talk about the actual structure of the live session. A few of you have already joined us before on this, actually. So the whole goal here is to have it's an educational discussion. We're going to be talking about obviously upselling and boosting trust using ID verification, which is a really, really big topic nowadays. Both topics have come up, and upselling is just everywhere right now. But there's also the question of ID verification. So we're going to be having I've got 20 minutes in there, but it might run over a little bit. You can hear I waffle a bit, but anyway, we'll probably see how things go. And at the end of the session, we're going to have an interactive Q&A. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the LinkedIn comments, and we'll check those through. And when we get to the Q&A session, we'll do our best to answer them. So guys, are we ready? Shall we give this a go then?
I think we are.
All right. Okay, so let's start off with what Charge Automation is first. This is what I'm going to do on my side. So Charge Automation is a guest experience platform, which basically takes you from the whole check-in to check-out experience. Most importantly, we have a seamless integration with Escapia, which is obviously very important. But we also offer that guest ID verification. So we have a whole series of ID biometrics. So not just ID verification, but we talk about payments. We talk about validating who that guest actually is, etc. But we also offer upsells, payment gateways, deposit collection, guidebooks, etc. So a whole host of different features there. So yeah, that is Charge Automation in a very short nutshell. And Garrett, I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about Escapia a little bit here.
Yeah, bringing out another very short nutshell to talk about Escapia. We are one of the premier vacation rental property management softwares, and we offer just a whole suite of features and tools and abilities that help large-scale property managers manage their portfolio. And that ranges from the tools that you need to make your business succeed, things like trust accounting tools and rates management and booking calendars, as well as some really important and fun additions that help you optimize a lot of your workflows and take advantage of some of the things that even Charge Automation offers through our integration. Stuff like new mobile-first guest guides, extremely powerful flex reporting tool, as well as market rates and dynamic pricing and all sorts of goodies. So we have this kind of seamless integration with a lot of OTAs as well. Vrbo, Airbnb, Booking.com, lots of different areas. So places that you can use what you learn today to take advantage of how to get a lot out of your revenue and your bookings.
Great stuff. And I remember you were telling me that you guys have been around for almost 30 years. So yeah, long standing in this industry. So that's pretty awesome. You know, it goes to show, you know, that the product actually is you know, a really solid one to be around here for 30 years. That's
must be doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, and like I said earlier when we were talking, I should have used you guys years and years ago because I was using a DOS-based system literally about 6 years ago, believe it or not. But anyway, we won't go into that one. All right, awesome stuff. That's really great. Cheers, Garrett. Okay, so let's jump into the crux of things and obviously why upsells really matter. You know, at the end of the day, so upsells have been around, you know, everyone talks about upsells all the time. You know, we talk about this, it's the big buzzword, you know, upsells are the big thing. But I think, you know, I think we'll all agree here, they've been around for decades. It's been rebranded and relabeled as an upsell. You know, you can now buy this stuff online through your, you know, guest checkout app, you know, through the PMS itself. And it's become more important these days. You know, there's a lot of costs that property managers have. So I think, you know, it's the revenue necessity is there. You know, this is why we mention it. You know, it really helps drive further revenue, and it also gives you that competitive advantage. You know, if you have upsells, you offer services and things that people might want, even if they don't buy them. The fact is, it's a great marketing tool, even just having upsells there in itself. So yeah, and Austin, you were telling me about this, fairly recently regarding when we had a discussion regarding yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's all good. So yeah, like I do find, like, obviously in my role, I'm talking to a ton of different property managers, and a lot of the times, these upsells are on their mind because of the just growing operational costs of just this day and age, and trying to digitalize that experience, making sure that these property managers are taking proper advantage of these upsells, and trying to figure out good ways to do it. So that's definitely what we're here to talk about today is how to really take a look at all of your upsell opportunities, how to leverage them in the best ways possible, and make sure that you're delighting your guests actually, instead of just trying to pull some more revenue out of them. How do we actually use upsells to enhance that guest experience?
Yeah, totally. And Garrett, again, I guess your customers must they ask about this a lot. Presumably, we were talking about this.
Yeah, it's something that we were discussing earlier. In fact, it's as you see a lot of this industry both shrink kind of due to acquisitions in some other areas, as well as expand dramatically with the amount of units that guests can have their eyes and ears on. Competing for bookings should be a strategy that you do alongside some of these other additional marketing strategies. And that's where upsells is going to come in to help you get the most out of every single booking. And I think, like you said, Nick, even if they don't take advantage of the upsells, it shows that you're thinking about the ways that you can enhance their stay. And that's really critical to getting a lot of the things that come alongside it, reviews and post-stay recommendations and things like that.
No, totally. The reviews part is something that people don't think about. If you have those upsells, just because it makes you feel a little bit special. Hey, they offered champagne there. That must be a really cool place. Even if you don't buy the champagne for whatever it might be, a Dom Perignon, whatever it might be, for $1,000. But the fact is, you had it there, and people may feel like, wow, this place is awesome, and they give you a good review just based upon that. It's interesting. So that's really cool. Let's move on to the next point, because obviously, it's really key to really understand the next element we're talking about as well, which is biometric guest verification. And we were saying ID verification, but it's not just about ID verification here. So ID verification has always been, show me your ID, scan it. I think a lot of us have done this before when we sign up for a new bank, or we sign up for any sort of financial institution, or kind of, I think even online gaming requires you to do ID verification too. But it's more than that in the hospitality industry, because it helps build trust with who you're actually interacting with. You want to know who they actually are. And it also enables you to know who they are. If this person is, maybe they, if you have John Doe booking, a room, and then you end up with, Jane Doe turning up instead, you've got the right person, and that's really important. And then it attaches itself onto payments as well. So this is the interesting thing that I think people forget with payment verification. That's part of the whole process. You get a validation of the payments itself. So it's a really powerful tool set there. It's not just to bother somebody. It creates a lot more trust. And again, we're discussing this just the other day when we were prepping for the call itself. You mentioned a couple of things on this one, whereby it's even though it's not mandatory in the US, it's becoming more and more prevalent. So,
yeah. This is it's not a legal requirement in a lot of different areas on this side of the ocean, but that doesn't mean that it won't be. And as regulations start to grow and continue to get a lot more defined in each of these market areas,
right,
and as each kind of state group or province or country takes its own approach, it's better to be on top of things. And if you have a robust or a well set in place ID verification system, you're going to be prepared for that. You're already going to have the benefits of the kind of security and trust that comes with this advanced ID verification system, and you're going to be prepared ahead of some of your peers too. It's going to put you in a better spot as time goes on.
Yeah, totally. And having a platform I think that a lot of ID verification platforms exist. I've used tons of them. Integrating them is really difficult. It's not an easy feat at all. And platforms like Charge Automation, they provide that experience. It's designed for the hospitality industry. We know our customer type. This is what we specialize in. So we provide a journey that's as simple as possible for that customer, which I think is really important. And then when you combine it with a PMS, with Escapia, with a PMS like yours, you have that whole seamless experience. You have the booking, you have the check-in experience, you have the ID verification, and then it goes on to the upsells and over to the guest books that they have thereafter to kind of then take them, look after them during their stay. I think people are afraid of it, but I think using platforms that are designed for the purpose, it just simplifies everything a lot more, and it's definitely worth the investigation. So 100%. So I guess moving in, I think we can talk about that whole seamless guest journey. We're mentioning that, and where it all comes in. So Austin, you were mentioning this before as well. I'd probably hand it over to you because you were talking about this the other day.
I think really breaking down this guest journey and how upsells play into this can really, like I said earlier, enhance that guest experience. Making sure that you're offering certain upsells at the pre-check-in side of the booking, the actual booking itself. You can offer different pieces of that experience to make sure that we're converting at a higher rate and making sure that we're offering the most relevant upsells to your guests when it makes the most sense. So, for example, before arrival, having some high ticket experiencing changing upsells, like a private chef or maybe a grocery delivery service, renting a boat, or
You're pushing limits here, that you really are. Just
those are the higher ticket items. It all depends obviously on your your region, the quality of the homes that you have in your portfolio, but really identifying what works in your local community, what you can offer that's unique to the experience that your guests are having, and making sure that they're thinking about these ideas or purchasing them ahead of time, so then you can make sure you have enough time as the property management company to deliver on said upsell.
And that sounds really, really complicated. I think in many cases, absolutely, you can have these experiences, but they can be as basic as before arrival, just the early check-in. It literally is the early check-in and the late checkout. Those are the game changers. Those are the ones that really drive revenue. And we'll talk again. Sorry, I keep saying we'll talk about this the other day, but we had a long chat regarding all of this stuff the other day, and we're discussing all these points to make sure we speak about them in our session here today. And they're the core basics, and ensuring they're all in place, it's gonna increase that guest experience right at the start.
Yeah, exactly. Always the best performing upsells are the most simple ones: early check-in, late checkout, any sort of paid upgrades for the room or something in the room, and then of course any sort of local experiences that I was talking about. They end up doing particularly well because they are unique to that specific stay.
And so Garrett, I was going to say, tell us about the guidebooks as well, because obviously that's a really key thing from your end, and having it at this stage as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you emphasized the local part too. Is Escapia's latest feature, one of our kind of biggest launches of the last year, is our integrated guidebooks feature, something that will allow you to kind of advertise these upsells and provide some information on them and integrate with some of the partners when you link through to them, in terms of before or during or after your stay in a mobile accessible guide portal. So they'll be able to see more information on this, and maybe when they're at the start of their stay, they don't think they need a late check-in or a late checkout, but they start to enjoy so much time there that it's good to have that information accessible to them at a later point. And being in Expedia Group, we get the benefit of seeing some of the research that Expedia Group tends to do. And I'm so glad that you brought up the kind of local stay upsells, that you can create, because we find in Expedia Group that a lot of guests like to get that local aspect. They like to take part in their
100%,
community. And if you can make upsells around that, you're going to find that a lot more guests are appreciative both of your stay in your unit as well as the thing that you offer them that lets them take part in it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Do you know what? You mentioned something there as well. I was kind of biting my tongue because it's such a big point as well after their stay. And that's such a big thing. I think I'm a property manager myself, and it's actually probably the biggest upsell opportunity. My properties are on a water park, when they have a water park literally attached to them. And so when you stay with us, you get access to that water park, which is great. But everyone wants to keep using it after they check out. So one of our biggest upsells is selling pool bands so they get access to it, believe it or not. They don't do the late checkout. They don't want that. They just want to be able to use the pools. So we use that often. And it's really important to remember that, with the guidebooks that you use, make sure that you kind of highlight those things that are in there, and also highlight those, for after the departure. The holiday isn't over straight away. It might be for some people, but for many it's not. So you have to think about these things. What happens after a guest checks out? What do they want to do? Their flight's probably at 4 a.m. So they've got the entire day to kill. So sell them things. You've still got them, So if you can provide services to them, absolutely, you should go for it. So that's a really cool point you mentioned there.
Yeah.
Right, guys, let's go on to the next point, because obviously we're talking about this right now, and that's the effective upsell strategies. And like I said, we've already mentioned the whole early check-in, late check-out. Obviously you have airport transfers. These are core items that you might want to have. So it's really important to make sure that you have the right upsell product at the right time. Which is why we mentioned here strategic timing is everything. You need to make sure that you provide them at that point. One of the great things, because we have that fully integrated two-way integration with Escapia, we can do some very clever things actually with your calendar, and we can create upsells. We can actually create what we call dynamic upsells, and these are awesome because making sure you can actually provide the right upsell at the right time is absolutely key. So essentially, the point where you have, for example, let's say you want to offer a guest a late checkout, but I think historically you would have had to look at the calendar. You have to see if that's available. It's an arduous process, and this is where automation comes in, and this is where our integration is amazing. When you use a product like Escapia and charge automation together, you get this really seamless experience. We look at your calendar and we say, hey, you've got a free gap here. Let's give that late checkout. You can offer it. It means that you can then sell that late checkout without having to approve anything at all. And also it means that when the payment is made, you have various options. Historically, you would have taken that payment for the upsell. And that's great, but what if there is no late checkout available? You then have got to process the refund. That costs you money to on the refund. It costs you money in commissions. It annoys the guest. And in many cases, our guests, we talk about, I'd say, let's just say 5-star guests, but you also have 1- and 2-star guests you got to cater for, and they run on the penny. They have their holiday money. You go over that, you upset them. So you got to make sure that you keep them happy. And if you've taken their money and then you process a refund, they've lost that money for up to 7 days. That's a dreadful experience. So by doing this, we can verify that the upsell is available before processing that payment. And that changes everything, and that improves the whole guest experience. So this is what exists right now. If you integrate Escapia and charge automation together, you have that really lovely dynamic integration piece. Which, Matt, you obviously on the engineering side, this kind of really falls on you here.
It really does, and for us, it's such a simple thing for our users to do. Like when we're doing the connection, it's a couple presses of a button, and then telling you guys which properties to look at, and that's about it. And then everything else starts flowing through. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's really cool. I mean, it comes back to simplicity is key here, but in this instance, we're talking about the upsell, but at the end of the day, with the integration, it is really important to ensure that, it is literally as your username and password. Skip on to the next slide, because we were talking about this and obviously about the integration piece itself. Matt, maybe you want to tell us a little bit more about, the integration. This is your topic. This is 100% you.
It really is. Yeah. So with us, we're kind of your system of record. We handle all the accounting and the background stuff. What's going to happen we connect up through charge automation. We can go ahead and take a look at your upsells. We give them the calendar, as we've kind of been talking about. They can pull it at any time, see where guests are, where they're staying, feeds information back to us. So if something changes, they get that information. It's all synchronized live on the fly with upgrades there. It's really frictionless experience. There's no real downtime on anything, and it's all real time.
It's simple.
It is. It's such a simple process.
But it delivers so much. And I think, like I said, this is where I think people are kind of concerned when they want to integrate their PMS with a different platform. Will it kind of send back data? You know, if charge automation does collect a lot of data when you're doing check-ins, it collects payment information. And of course, the hub is Escapia. That is your hub because that pushes to accounting programs, to CRM platforms, etc. So the most important thing to remember here for anybody using Escapia and charge automation is that when you enter information in charge automation, when you kind of give your guest that guest check-in service, all that information will lead back into Escapia, and you have that central hub controlling all the data in that place. We also have a copy, by the way, on charge automation, so should anything go wrong, there's a mismatch, we can always check that. But the other key thing here is that payment information is pushed back. And this is always a concern with any user, really. You know, is my accounting data going to be kept up to date? Austin, I think you mentioned the other day, we were talking about a customer who was just really concerned that they weren't getting their data for, I think they had a new accounting program or something, and they were just talking about it, and it took us a while to reassure them. I think we had to give them a demo in the end, but it's all there.
Yeah. I also think like having these itemized pieces going back into Escapia, like so then the invoice actually shows exactly what a guest has purchased, as well as having all the payment stuff done by the automations means that the actual property management companies just now have to act on delivering the upsell instead of saying, hey, can I get payments, and making sure everything's done for it. And then also all the different statuses that we're able to send back. So the guest has been verified, getting a status update in Escapia. Because another thing about, even if you're an Escapia user and not using charge automation, it's like, so much work to put a new system in place. Once we've set up charge automation, then everything's pushing back. Your team is just still working out of Escapia because all the information is there. Makes it very easy to act on those upsells and any other activities that charge automation is automating.
And I think one point you need to make we need to make here right now is it saves you time doing this as well. I think traditionally, people did upsells through WhatsApp. I did for a while, a long while, and it just saves you a huge amount of time. What you save, you can apply to whatever, marketing, or even just stepping back and relaxing a little bit more. It is tough work being a hospitality manager. When you're there trying to get everything ready for your guests, you're all over the place. So it really does save you time, and I think that's a really key thing here. And combined with the whole ID verification, knowing who your guests are, you don't have to worry about that. The person arriving is the person who has arrived. That the upsells, the relevant upsells are in place, and that drives conversion. So making sure you have those dynamic upsells. I didn't mention this before, but that drives conversion. And we've seen a 20% increase as a result of having these dynamic upsells in place, because you're targeting what the customer wants to see. You've got those groups, you get you're basically giving the right upsell for the right person. And one of the points I had to read it here because I'm just talking to you guys here and I'm not always looking all over the place. But it genuinely does. We've had customers come to us and say, God, I've saved, almost a day, in admin tasks just by having this. Imagine what you could do with a whole extra day. I'd probably go for a ride on my bike, but I know other people do different things. They go out and do, they expand the business. They have more time to improve other processes and really kind of optimize their business. So it really does help in so many ways, having this whole two-way sync and having the whole, the two platforms play together nicely. It's a really great combination.
Yeah, beautiful.
All right. Well, I've got to talk about a success story. This is one of the ones we have. We bring this up in every live session, but it just emphasizes the point and why upsells are just so important. This is Life Suites, and essentially they have 60 properties. And Live Suites generates $13,000 of additional revenue just but with their upsells alone. So you have their rental income, but by adding upsells, that's you're talking well in excess of 150,000 every year, $150,000 yearly just by having that. And in their case, $216 of additional revenue. Now, I know this is a really big example, but on average, we're seeing about $40 per rental unit. And that's a big impact on your revenue. It doesn't matter. Again, we've chosen one here, which is a really big one. But if you're a small property manager, you've got 2 properties, you've got maybe 4 rentals every month. Right there, you're looking at what is it? My maths is going to go, but it's $160. No, what is that? $320. So it's additional revenue every year, and that all adds up. So the more you add into there, the more you can push. So it's money on the table. It's money that it's so important to be able to tap into that, and we can assist. So that's just one example. Sorry, you're going to say something there. Sorry.
Yeah, Nick, I was just going to say, I always find, especially when we're talking about different companies that are doing a lot of upsells, and there's some companies out there I don't want to offer upsells. I don't want to be that type of property management company. Totally understand that, but the big thing is that all of these upsells that we're talking about and that these companies are offering, these are things that your guests are delighted to purchase, that they are looking for. So it's not this idea that we are, trying to just pull extra money out of each and every guest, but it's enhancing that experience. Sure, they're paying for it, but they're happy to do so.
Absolutely, yeah. And you get better reviews from it because you gave them a much better experience during their stay. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win, exactly.
Yeah, it shows that level of thoughtfulness that I think is guests like to see, even if they don't necessarily buy it.
Yeah, 100%. So I guess I knew this was going to happen. We're 27 minutes in, so I said it was going to be 20 minutes, but we said, okay, let's say 30 minutes. I think it's important to kind of summarize, what the future upselling is, and it's here and it's available right now for everybody. And I think the first thing is, personalized dynamic offers, and you can do that when you integrate Escapia and charge automation together. You can provide that dynamic experience, in terms of displaying the relevant upsells at the right time. So an additional example, actually, I think I want to give, and I sometimes forget to mention this, is we can look at obviously the number of guests that you have. So you can deliver a specific upsell for 2 adult couples that might be staying with you, or if you've got 2 adults or whatever it might be, and 4 kids, it's a family, isn't it? So you don't want to offer the champagne experience for them or the luxury spa, but you do want to offer the water park, or you want to offer the dolphin trip, whatever it might be. We can do that using the tools that we have and the automated workflows that we have with charge automation. And of course, this is a given with Escapia as well, the mobile first experience. It's making sure that everything is designed, because people walk in with their mobile devices, they don't log in with their laptops. You want it to be able to work smoothly on your mobile device. Everything on both Escapia's side, charge automation side, it's all mobile friendly, because you need it to be that way. That's 85-90% of our users are mobile users. And I mentioned just now, obviously, the creative bundles. It's really important to think about that. So when you're creating all these different upsell opportunities, just keep the numbers down, keep it simple, but create it depending on the type of kind of guest that you have. Really important. I could run through these ones, but let's say the scalable element. Both platforms, Escapia has proven itself for 30 years. There's no question on that one. It's a scalable product, but so is charge automation. So, the 2 products, you don't have to keep switching products when you start growing and you're thinking, I've outgrown this. You can remain on these products. They stick with you. So you don't have to move around, and moving from one product to another is an expensive endeavor, and you've got to think really carefully about it. So when you stick with these together, you have a really, really great combo. It's a given. And the last part, I guess, are the 2 elements, which is the trust-driven upselling validation element. We've spoken about ID verification and why it's so important. It validates who that user is. If you validate who the user is, you're more likely to get a much better experience, because you can also validate their payment method. You ensure the guest arriving is who they are. You're not going to have any trouble if you have any issues down the line. You know who that person is. but also a verified guest is going to be a more reliable and probably a higher value guest than somebody who isn't, because they've given their ID verification, they've got all their details, payment details in place. You have a validated guest, which is so important. And of course, the final part is obviously the frictionless upsell payments. We have with Charge Automation, there's over 100 different payment methods. So it doesn't matter where you are globally. You combine Escapia and Charge Automation together, you have a very frictionless payment experience. And in the US, of course, there are no issues there at all. Everything is covered 100%. So you have that full experience there. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add there, Garrett or Matt, on that particular point.
Yeah, I think that just one of the things I want to emphasize, and I really like that you mentioned it earlier, is scalability. Escapia is extremely beneficial in terms of helping you grow your business and stick and buy with you while you do. A lot of our features, they help you succeed whether you have 15 units or 150 units. And we, alongside Charge, are so always ready to help you kind of save that amount of time. Spending that time helping with automation of sending those early check-in messages or rental agreements, helping automate. We offer housekeeping tools that can help you kind of work on your cleaning workflows. Even just the latest, our guest guides are a great way for you to send this information off and emphasize the upsells and provide some extra information on why ID verification is so important for your business, while adding some extra detail without having to spend all that time at your desk trying to have to automate it for 150 separate units at the same time.
Right.
So we're really glad that we have a partner like this in Charge Automation who keeps that idea in their heads as well.
No, absolutely. It's one of the things that you have to be very careful about when picking a product. And yeah, like I said, it can be a very tough choice for any property manager. Really, really tough one. But you have two brands here who we've been around for a long time, and I think it's important to have somebody reputable as well. I can speak for Charge Automation, and of course, Escapia speaks for itself. In terms of what you've mentioned, obviously the time you guys have been around, and I think the credentials that you carry, and I think that's really important as well. Okay, let's go on to the key takeaways. I think we can wrap things up because we are quite over, but it's always an interesting chat to talk about all these things. I think you can talk about this for hours, to be honest. It's always hard to do it in a live session because you have to kind of go through a flow, but ultimately, yeah, it's you could go on for hours and hours and hours. Let's talk about let's kind of talk about upsells first. It's a given. You must provide upsells if you want to kind of drive additional revenue. And finding the right platform, like Charge Automation, it can assist you with that, and making sure you have something which has got that full integration that Matt you were saying earlier. It's so important to have that full two-way sync. It's very easy just to kind of have an upsell platform. It has no integration. You've then got to copy things around. It creates problems. So avoid that when you can, 100%. ID biometrics, they don't have to be painful. Again, people always think they're painful. It's not, they're going to upset users. The platform we have in place is designed for the industry. It really is. So essentially, we have a platform which is really made to create a very simplified flow. When you check in, it's not complicated. Anyone can really use it, and it works on any mobile device. So really important to kind of make sure you have something like that. And of course, let's talk about the upsells themselves. Timing, simplicity. Don't put too many on there. Just put a few that actually matter. And the automation element. Make sure you have that full integration in place. Ensure you have the right upsell at the right time, just before the check-in. The early check-in, during the stay. Provide the services you want to offer. The dolphin trip, or the champagne, or the sauna, whatever it might be. And at the end of the stay, in my case, the pool pass. Everyone wants to have that pool pass, or the late checkout. Or even the taxi journey back home. It's important to make sure you have those elements in there. They're the key ones. I don't know, guys, if you have anything else to add on there, Garrett or Matt, or even Austin.
I do. I think we've talked a lot about upsells, and we made a lot of emphasis. And I know hearing the word upsells can slowly start to lose its meaning after a little while. But I do want to emphasize how important upsells can be in diversifying and helping your business stand out. The other day I was reading, because I like to do a lot of research when we're talking about making Escapia the perfect partner program for a lot of our property managers. And I was reading that about 82% of properties do not have upsells, which is just a giant miss in terms of how you can diversify and differentiate your business. So use these tools. We're here to help you and to help you succeed. And Escapia, we've got a lot of different abilities. We have this great integration. If you're interested in doing any of these things, we're all here to help you.
Absolutely. It just goes to show the missed opportunity people have in this kind of in this element. People might think they have the upsells in place, but if you don't communicate it in the right way, you don't show it, you're basically letting revenue slip through your fingers, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It's not complicated when you use the right tools. So absolutely, Garrett. I think do speak to us. Speak to the guys at Escapia. Speak to our teams here at Child Automation. We'll give you a full demo. We'll walk you through the whole thing, and we'll get you started and see you driving further revenue to your business. It's so key to do this. So absolutely, great stuff. I think we have reached the whole Q&A stage. I did take a quick look, by the way. We have at the last show we had 20 people live. It's gone down to 16. But no questions. I don't know if you have any questions right now.
I have a question. I don't know if this is unorthodox.
No, that's all. Go for it.
So Garrett, for you, you're talking to a lot of different property managers. Just thinking about that, 82% of no upsells on these accounts. What would you say, in your experience? What's that first 1 to 3 upsells that you would kind of say, hey, if you've never done upsells, these are the 3 that you should do?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because it can be kind of hard to figure out where you can start with your business. And, there's a lot of different options, but you guys mentioned earlier in this presentation, 2 easy ones that a lot more people are going to take up than you might think they will, is the early check-in and the late checkout. Especially people with families, especially those who need some extra assistance getting in and out of the home in terms of their vacation. It's an easy thing to pick up. And one of the others that I've heard, and I've seen a lot of my research and in talking with PMs, is kind of surprisingly a grocery stock. Lots of people, when they do kind of vacation homes versus a hotel, it's because they intend to stay there for quite a long time. And they like having an area with a kitchen, but of course, basic supplies sometimes can be all that you really need in the off chance that you don't want to leave a bunch of things behind. So allowing guests to fill out a grocery order that either you go and purchase and bring back for them, or that you just kind of provide for them before they arrive for the stay. It shows that you have that thoughtfulness, that you're prepared to give them a nice welcome to your home. And it shows that you're ready to adapt to their needs. And if you do something like a grocery stock or a late check-in or early, check-in or anything like that, you're going to be able to only have to do minimal amounts of work for a maximum amount of guest satisfaction.
Totally. Yeah. Do you know, Garrett, it's funny you mentioned the whole grocery element, but we have a family meal pack, and we also have a breakfast pack, which we offer our guests. And those are our 2 biggest sellers. I even put a tapas pack. We're here in Spain, so we have different things over here. But our biggest sellers, funnily enough, for those checking in, are exactly that. It's the food packs. Nobody's really interested in the early check-in on our side. It's just because of what we are. But we offer apartments, and it makes everyone very happy to make sure that you got your groceries already in the fridge. You got your breads there. You got everything ready. And in many cases, this is exactly why what you mentioned. You're reacting on your customers' needs. In many cases, people arrive very late at night. They arrive at 2:00 in the morning. They want to go straight to bed. They want to wake up and they want to have their breakfast. What's the worst thing you can think of after a long trip, having to find a supermarket and then find groceries? It just sets off a really bad tone for the whole holiday. So that's a really good point. Really good. Awesome. We have no questions. This is the first time we've done a live session and we have no questions at all. That's crazy. But nevertheless, that's okay. We will still obviously answer any questions that people put on the stream on the chat thereafter. If you have any comments regarding Escapia or charge automation, especially regarding upsells, feel free to put them in the chat. We will answer them. Garrett is on here too, so is Matt. So we can obviously offer all our expertise. And yeah, I guess we can finish things off. I think the main thing here is a very special offer that we have here actually for all the listeners that took part. So we want to offer everybody who took part in this session 3 months free on any annual plan with Escapia and Charge Automation. So if you sign up today, you're unsure, and you want to kind of get started, you want to kind of find a platform that works for you. Anybody that signs up today who's been part of the live session, make sure you have. You will get 3 months free of both Charge Automation and Escapia when you choose an annual plan. So that's pretty awesome. And funnily, in that moment, we got a first question. I feel like we should probably answer that question too. Actually, so I'm going to go do a little bit of a reverse on here, and I'm going to show that question so we actually have it. Yeah, it doesn't all fit here, but nevertheless, I'm going to say it. I'll read it back out. So thanks for the great conversation. Really appreciate the valuable insights. And a quick question. I've heard that offering add-ons or upsells like trips or activities can help increase the length of stay. Since Escapia has been in the market for over 30 years, I was wondering if you've seen any data or insights on this. Also, it's great to know that Charge Automation can support us with this. That's a great question.
Yeah, I agree. Fantastic question. And I think it's one that I clearly have a lot of enthusiasm about because I have been looking into some of this stuff. And while I don't have the data off the top of my head, I can certainly confirm that that is a trend that we've been seeing. Being able to provide some extra interactivity with the area around them, whether that's local treats in a welcome basket, or like Nick mentioned, having a tapas kit and helping them arrive to feel more welcomed into your stay, is something that has marginally, in most cases, or in some cases, significantly increased the length of stay for some people. And on top of that, that is also an upsell that you can provide. Knowing whether or not you have that extra booking room to fill in gaps between your bookings is something that you can send mid-stay and say, hey, we have an opportunity to help you extend your booking. We've noticed either by looking in Escapia's reservation grid calendar or just being cognizant of it yourself after a cancellation that you've got some availability. It is something that you can offer as an upsell or an extension and will kind of feed into itself as well. Those upsells show people things that they can do in the area that they may not have otherwise been able to find. So yes, I think it's a fabulous question, and I encourage people to do so and maybe even experiment for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely increasing the stay. That's a fantastic one. And it's personally, I've not had that at my properties, but then it's a very different type of property that I have. But certainly, you tend to find that if you provide services that people want, for example, we now offer e-bikes, etc., and those bits and pieces, people will come back. So even if you don't extend the stay, you tend to find you have much better loyalty. So you'll find you have a return visitor over and over and over again. And we have a lot of those as a result of the services and we pride ourselves on customer service. And if you have the combination of really solid customer service, you have great upsells. Even though you don't see that, you're going to get those users come back to you again and again. So that's a really great question. That was from Frank Martinez. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Frank.
Great stuff. Okay, I think that's it. I don't think there are any other questions on here. They're probably all going to pop up as soon as we log off, but nevertheless, that's usually the way it is. We will answer all those questions afterwards, so don't worry. So if you do still have questions, you're a little bit shy, you don't want to mention anything right now, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll get back to you on that one. So yeah. I guess I just want to finish off, from my side and thank Garrett and Matt, and of course, Austin, for joining us here today. Here are all our details. Garrett, do you want to sign off? Matt, do you want to sign off with anything?
Yeah. The last thing I want to mention is, firstly, I appreciate Nick and Austin for letting us come over here and having this conversation on upsells. I think it's one that's becoming even more important for vacation rental owners and property managers as time goes on and the industry gets a lot more filled with competition. And something I want to mention as well is we here at Escapia, the 30 years has been brought up, and we've got a long history in terms of growing alongside our property managers and building out kind of industry leading tools and helping with automating and helping you scale your business. We're always here to chat. We're always here to show you what we can do for you and integrate with a lot of partners to provide you that kind of comprehensive network that helps you save yourself time, save yourself some money, and scale and provide that great guest experience that I think we like to all offer as best we can.
Brilliant. No, that's awesome. Thanks, Garrett. I really appreciate it. And thank you for joining us on this session. Hopefully you'll come back for another one.
Of course, we're open and ready.
Great stuff. Well, I guess I'll finish off with my own side. Like I said, if you have any questions regarding charge automation, we have Austin, who is our amazing account executive. He's here to answer any questions you might have. If you want to book a demo with us, please feel free to do that anytime. You can either scan the QR code or use the link to book a demo, or go to our website, chargeautomation.com. We've not been around for 30 years, but we value our customer experience massively. We have a fantastic customer experience team, and we will support all Escapia customers absolutely and help them guide them into getting everything set up. And we're obviously very excited to have the partnership with Escapia. You guys are really great to work with. And we look forward to welcoming everybody, or if you haven't signed up, to Charge Automation and hopefully to Escapia as well. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time. And we'll see you in the next one. All the best, guys. Have a great evening.